This is my raw vocal.
I'm gonna leave you justified. That's what you call it.
And this is the same vocal after I run it through my vocal chain that I've perfected over years of trial and error.
I decide I'm gonna leave you justified. That's what you call it.
Nobody knows your voice better than you do. Today, I'll prove it. You can skip over to the vocal chain building if you want, but I realized it's important to speak about why you should be controlling your own vocal chain. You've spent years working on your instrument, which is your voice. You know its ins and outs, you know its strength, its weaknesses, and at the end of it all, you give it to a stranger who works on it for 3 hours max. Also, not all, but some producers tend to work very fast and apply generic vocal chains which might affect everyone equally but might not be the best to take your sound up to its full potential. The result, your vocal sounds processed, plastic, and not intimate. But when you are the singer and the producer of your vocals, you can record at 2 a.m. when the emotion is real and the studio doesn't need to be booked. You can do 40 takes without anyone sighing, and you can take micro decisions which no other producer would make. For example, keeping your breath, your cracked voices in some parts, which makes it actually feel real. Now, how do you even begin to think about your vocal chain? First, understand your problem frequency. Every voice normally has a problem frequency which doesn't let it sit on the track properly. Find yours first. Then walk through your voice. What does your voice do naturally? Where does it thin out and where does it sound muddy? Also, understand your dynamic range. Are you a whisperer or are you a full-on belter? Your vocal chain should serve exactly that purpose. First, I tend to start with a noise gate, so it tends to eliminate all the sounds that are not needed. It just keeps my voice and the rest is just cut off.
In your sight.
I follow it up with a plugin like de-breath because it helps me take out all the breathing sounds which are too harsh, and I keep it up to a level. Sometimes I might skip it if I need those breathing voices, but majorly I tend to remove it to a certain level so that it sits pretty nicely along with the main vocal takes. Third, I try to take care of any plosives, which is all the sounds which might be coming on out to the mic when you're singing. Especially if you're a whisperer and you're too close to the mic, there might be a lot more of these sounds. So I try to take them out through a plugin like this. Next, I turn to a de-esser to remove all the sibilances, all the sounds, and make them non-harsh by selecting the right amount of thresholds, the right ranges, and what is specifically working for my voice.
In your sight. In your sight.
Next, before applying any sort of EQs on my voice, I try to get it tuned either with Melodyne on a different track so that it does not mess with my entire vocal chain, or I use any of the other pitch correction plugins so that I understand if I have gone too off key on any of the lines or it's sounding good overall.
On a lonely morning, justified.
Next, I run it through an EQ. I like to use FabFilter's Pro Q4 because they provide me exact reference points, and what I like to understand here is where my voice sounds muddy, where I'm getting the most sibilances, where I'm getting harsh textures, where I'm getting nasal sounds, and I try to eliminate all of these by just some fraction so that overall the voice is free of these kinds of discrepancies.
Justified. Justified.
After this, I turn to a compressor in order to tame all the things that have come out of my vocal range and have them all sit normally, and I don't apply too much of compression so it sounds artificial, but just a bit so that it's overall controlled and I can adjust the gain accordingly.
Justified. Justified.
Because I like to have that breathy kind of textures in my vocals, I really like to brighten up those bands using a plugin like Mag EQ4 and increasing some of the bands so that it sounds way more breathier and alive and warm as well.
I'm gonna leave you.
I really like to end it with a plugin like Soothe 2 and use one of their presets like de-harsh, because what it does is it finds the resonances and really tames them down so that overall the voice feels pretty well rounded and I can mix it pretty nicely.
Justified. Justified.
Optionally, I might add an EQ at the end if I have to use the track as a double take or a harmony take, so that I can turn down the frequencies in a range from 1 to 4K where the lead voice is supposed to shine out. Lastly, we come to the sends, where the magic again happens. I tend to use two kinds of reverbs, a long reverb and a short reverb. The short reverb is to just give a room sort of a feel if I've recorded in a studio, because the studio might not have that kind of an ambience. And a long reverb is something that I like to use musically in order to extend my voice in places of gaps or breaks.
Justified. That's what you call it.
For the same, I also use the third send, which is a delay, which again is for giving an extra feel of presence throughout the vocal section.
On a lonely morning, I decide.
And the last send is for parallel compression, which I can fine tune so I can actually decide how much of that compressed, saturated voice I want to use along with the main vocal take.
Justified.
Making your own vocal chain gives you a lot of pros. You can go from a voice memo to a finished vocal in just one session. Your creative and sonic decisions regarding your voice will stay with you till the end. And honestly, every vocal session makes you a better producer, and every good production session makes you a better singer. The feedback loop is compounding. Now honestly, it takes time to develop objectivity towards your vocals. You might over-process it at first, but just continue, keep going at it. Also, fresh ears matter. So step away when you feel too clogged with ideas and come back to the desk again. I've been building this vocal chain for years and it still keeps evolving as my voice keeps evolving. If you want to go deeper on this, I've put in a free checklist of all the plugins I use with the exact settings I start from. Links below. It's not a formula, it's a starting point, and your vocals will tell you the rest. And as always, if this was of any use to you, please like the video and subscribe to my channel and share the video to someone who might really benefit from it. This is Music in Progress, and I hope to see you soon.